Last Friday, the House of Representatives passed a $3 trillion stimulus plan. It's called the HEROES Act. I'm going to talk to you about it today and let you know what I think, how it's going to play out, what's in it, all those things coming up on today's State of the Stimulus. Hi, my name is Jim Hart. I'm the founding attorney here at Hawthorn Law, where we help online business owners get their legal house in order so they can focus on what they do best, and that is building a business that truly matters in the world. Today I want to talk to you about the stimulus and how it might affect you. Before we get into my thoughts and opinions on the stimulus, I want to talk to you about exactly what was in the bill that passed the House of Representatives last Friday. This is being called the HEROES Act. It is a $3 trillion behemoth of a bill, even bigger than the CARES Act that was passed back in March of 2020, just a couple months ago. Number one, it provides for direct payments to Americans of $1,200, just like the last bill. However, in this bill, the dependents, as opposed to getting $500 per dependent like the CARES Act provided for, this bill will give $1,200 per dependent up to a maximum of 3 dependents. So the maximum payment a family of 5 could receive would be, instead of $3,900, it would be $6,000. The income limits are exactly the same as they were before. They are up to $75,000 for a single person or up to $150,000 for a married couple to receive the maximum benefit. This bill provides additional $75 billion for increased funding for coronavirus testing and contact tracing. In addition, it also allows for Americans to receive free coronavirus treatment if they are inflicted with this virus. I think that's really important. That's something that's probably understated, how expensive the treatments for this virus are. For the most part, people who have the most severe cases, they're being intubated, they're in intensive care for a number of weeks. That's a very expensive treatment, and especially for a lot of Americans who do not have health insurance, this is a huge benefit and something that is probably flying under the radar but really needs to be addressed in this bill. This bill is going to provide an additional $200 billion for hazard pay for frontline workers. These are the Americans who are working the front lines that we need to support. They're the grocery store clerks, they're the people that are working at daycare, so the healthcare professionals, they are the carriers that are delivering our mail and our packages that we're ordering from Amazon. These are the people who are having the most person-to-person contact with other humans during this time, where person-to-person contact is how this virus spreads. In addition, this bill is going to provide $850 million for states to assist with child care for those essential workers. All right, if you remember back to the CARES Act, it provided for a $600 per week federal benefit for unemployment pay. This bill would extend that for an additional 6 months until the end of January of 2021. In addition, this bill is going to provide for funding for state and local governments, tribal governments, and U.S. territories in the amount of $500 billion for the states, $375 billion for local governments, and $20 billion each to the U.S. territories and to tribal governments. Now, there's some other things that this bill does. It does provide some student loan forgiveness for people that were already in economically distressed situations even before this pandemic hit, as well as it provides for assistance, $100 billion to renters to avoid eviction, and $75 billion for homeowners to assist with mortgage payments so that they can avoid foreclosure. Lastly, the bill provides some support for farmers. It provides support for the U.S. Postal Service, which evidently is running out of money, and it provides a small amount of money for the states for election security to help prepare them for the upcoming elections in November. All this being said, the Senate calls this a liberal wish list. Chances are this bill is dead on arrival. There is virtually no chance that this bill is going to become a law in its present form. So for those of you that are going to start commenting below and being like, when am I going to see this money? When's this bill going to law? This bill's never going to happen. Hopefully you watch this video all the way through, because I'm telling you right now, I don't think this bill is going to become a law. I don't think this bill is going to happen. When are you going to see your money? I don't know when you're going to see your money, because this bill is not a law yet. This is just a proposal. It's a first lob. But here is what I will tell you. What you need to know is that this is for one check. A lot of people ask, is this going to be for monthly checks, recurring checks, or is this just one check? There have been a lot of proposals thrown out. None of them have reached the stages that this bill has, that have actually passed the House of Representatives. This is for one check. There are other proposals out there for monthly checks for 6 months until the pandemic ends, but this bill is for one check. It's an additional stimulus check, just like the CARES Act. It's not for recurring payments. That's not on the table at the present moment. I know people proposed it, but it's not out there just yet. However, this bill does expand the number of people that are going to be eligible for that check. The income limits are exactly the same as they were under the CARES Act, so if you got a check under the CARES Act, you would get a check under this bill as well. Now, let's talk about the fact that the Senate is basically treating this bill as dead on arrival. That's what they've said. I think that's entirely appropriate. Getting a little sore. Gotta move a little bit. As a lawyer, I negotiate with people all the time. On almost a daily basis, I'm negotiating contracts and settlements and things like that. And typically what we do is we prepare our initial offer, which is ridiculous. It's a pie in the sky. It's a wish list of everything we would want. That's exactly how we do it. And then we send that offer to the opposing side. And they send us their wish list, their pie in the sky, everything that they want. And it is usually way different than what we want. That's just the way these things work in the legal world. And then what happens is we slowly come together, we find a resolution, and eventually we get to something where hopefully we found ways to appease that side as well as ways to appease my client, and that's when a settlement is reached. Now, is my client in these situations always going to be 100% happy with the settlement we reached? No. Is their client? No. The best deals are the ones where both parties give something up in the process because they reach a consensus deal that's going to help as many people as possible. It's the same way with these bills. The House of Representatives, that's controlled by the Democrats, has put out a proposal of everything they want. The Republicans haven't done anything. They have not presented a bill. They have not taken up this bill. They've not negotiated with the Democrats. They've not negotiated with the president. They haven't done anything yet. So we'll see. It remains to be seen what the Senate's going to do. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think as states begin to open up, I think that we're going to start to see a spike in cases. Now, it might not be a huge spike. We'll see. The stats remain to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen just yet. But I think there's going to be an increase in cases. And even if there isn't an increase in case, I think that the damage has already been done by the initial round of cases. There's been layoffs. There's been people that were let go. There's been people who've gotten sick. We've had, substantial costs have been expended in dealing with this thing. Restaurants are going under. I mean, there's a lot of issues that have happened. A lot of small businesses have gone under. I think that this is going to, over time, lead to prolong the recession and potentially lead to a depression on a national level. And what that means is, it means that just because you lost your job and you have no way to pay your rent bill next month, it doesn't mean that the rent doesn't become due every single month. So June 1st is coming up, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unable to pay that bill. There's going to be a lot of people that have mortgages that are going to be unable to pay that bill. And I think that something needs to be done to help those people. That's where the stimulus comes into play. I think that in the states that are starting to open up prematurely, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it doesn't mean I'm right, it doesn't mean I'm wrong, it doesn't mean anything, it means it's my opinion. In my opinion, I think that these states are going to see an increase in cases. You can write it down here. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. But I think that's going to happen, and I think that we're going to have to go into, at some point in the future, whether it's this month, next month, this fall, whenever, I think there potentially could be another shutdown. I tell my wife that, she gets mad at me. She's like, don't say that, I don't want to hear about that. I think that's going to happen. I think with the stimulus plan, it's not a matter of if it's going to pass, I think it's a matter of when and what it's going to look like when it does pass. So if you'd like to learn more about my thoughts on the stimulus and how it's going to affect you, I'm going to be doing another video. Here it goes right there, and we'll see you in that next video. Take care, folks.